This learning aid is designed to provide you with an overview of the processes used to formulate our site-specific HSSE program. The process for developing our program can be illustrated using specific categories, each broken down into 5 stages. We'll review these stages in greater detail throughout this learning aid. Upon completing this lesson, you should be able to understand the cultural integration process, recognize the hearts and minds feedback loop between company and contractors, understand how we demonstrate we are listening, and finally, recognize your actions in closing the loop. 1.1. Understanding the cultural integration process. Stage 1. Lessons learned from both organizations. 2 world-class corporations, both respected leaders in their field. Early on, the goal was to research and capitalize on the wealth of knowledge from both organizations and then formulate a series of strategies to create our core programs specific to the needs of our unique workforce in this region. The first step was to conduct a study of key learning opportunities from various Bechtel projects that have been successfully executed in the area. The second step was to utilize the various data Shell had composed from their early work here on the site. A final step in Stage 1 included a cold eye review. This critical step consisted of site visits comprised of company and contractor representatives. The main focus was to review perception surveys, leading and lagging indicators, assess the craft acceptance of risk, and to actively engage frontline and site management with the mindset and expectations we value on the project. Additional efforts with our joint ventures and seeking feedback on their experiences all contributed to the program development of our HSSE program. These early efforts prior to mobilization enabled us to create a baseline that allows the project leadership team to gain new knowledge of current craft perception and risk tolerance in the region. In our efforts to educate you effectively, it's important you understand and be actively aware of the 5 stages to cultural integration process, and then recognize how the program is designed to work on a continual feedback loop between company and contractors. Any and all programs that you actively engage must support our site-specific HSSE programs. The extended upfront efforts to establish our core programs and procedures in Stage 1 provides you and the project leadership team with necessary insights on how to effectively resolve challenges while continuing to build the trust and confidence we wish to model on this project. This concludes Section 1, Understanding the Cultural Integration Process. 1.2. Recognize the hearts and minds feedback loop. Stage number 2, Hearts and Minds. Prior to the mobilization of the main works, the project leadership engaged a cross-section of the workforce to bring them into our processes and systems and give the craft a level of ownership and involvement. This stage takes advantage of the prior knowledge gained from Stage 1 to aid in the building of a revised relationship, with the goal to win the hearts and minds of the team. The goal was to enhance our programs based on employee feedback and demonstrating the leadership values as company and contractors bring new employees into the process, an instrumental part of building trusting relationships here at Pennsylvania Chemicals. This concludes Section 1.2, Recognizing the Hearts and Minds Feedback Loop. 1.3, Understanding how we demonstrate we're listening. Stage number 3, Are we listening? Research confirms employees require us as managers and project leaders to be interested in their concerns and opinions of the HSSE culture. Following first quarter of mobilization, the Main Works HSSE group has conducted a series of perception surveys and small focus groups. This stage is focused on obtaining a new baseline separate to that of early works and will be revisited on a quarterly basis. Data from these perception surveys will be trended and be used as focal points in the planned safety workshops, so any needed redirection of effort may be quickly created. Combined with Stage 4, Courageous Leadership, we'll host additional workshops and conferences inviting site and project leadership from all the parties involved on the project. The goal of this forum is to demonstrate we're listening by addressing HSSE concerns and creating additional opportunities to share lessons learned and best practices. In addition, this forum ensures the project is a learning organization, willing to adapt and remain proactive in our HSSE efforts. This critical feedback loop allows the project leadership team to visualize the path forward and the strategies needed in order to obtain a world-class Goal Zero culture. This concludes Section 1.3, Understanding How We Demonstrate We Are Listening. 1.4. Recognize your actions in closing the loop. You and others on the project leadership team will strategically close the loop by reporting back to craft and non-manual employees periodically throughout the life of the project. Closing the loop is simply addressing employee concerns and findings and following up with conclusions and the recommended path forward. The Goal Zero team will continue to track actions and closures while reporting on craft feedback through pre-start meetings and start card activities. It's critically important to all of us on the leadership team that each of us actively follow up with our employees and intentionally close the loop with good communication. This concludes Section 1.4, Recognize Your Actions in Closing the Loop. You can find more education and learning aids on the cultural integration strategy using the information on screen. This concludes Module 1 HSSE Program Development. At this point, you should have a working knowledge of 1.1. The cultural integration process. 1.2. Recognize the hearts and minds feedback loop between company and contractors. 1.3. Understand how we demonstrate we are listening. And 1.4. Recognize your actions in closing the loop. For more information or questions regarding our HSSE program development, please contact your direct report or use the contact information on the screen.